Welcome, everybody, to the Success Elevated podcast. As always, I'm your host, Hayden Lee, and I am joined this week by a very special guest. For those of you, well, you won't know this, but I'm going to just give you an insider's look into recording a podcast, a weekly podcast that we've done now for, it's been 9 months, 10 months we've been doing this. We had some audio difficulties, but we're actually it's technically a return guest, but joined by Mark Cooper, co-owner of Picarsso Auto Spa. He's graciously been willing to re-record with us. We had some audio issues that we were able to get corrected, and he's here with us today. So, Mark, thanks for coming on the podcast.
Hey, Hayden, I really appreciate you being able to have patience with this audio, video, and technology world that we live in. But hey, we are ready to go and excited to be able to do this again. And who knows, maybe it's better this time. Nice practice run the last time.
That's exactly right. It was practice. So now we're gonna be able to hit all the high points like we did, maybe even better. So, Mark, let's start. I think first and foremost, talk to us a little bit about your background. Obviously, you haven't been doing Picarsso Auto Spa for your entire life. So maybe talk to our listeners a little bit about your professional background, what you did, as well as maybe how you got interested in the whole cars and auto detailing space.
So as a youth, I enjoyed cars. I wanted opportunities to be able to drive different cars and work with different cars and have my hands on different cars. So I've always loved cars. And so from a fairly small town outside of Memphis, Tennessee, I had to figure out how was I going to be able to get my hands on a bunch of cars and not own them. So I figured out that I could wash the cars and keep them clean and get to keep working with the cars. And so that's what I did. I started washing cars in high school and then into college. And I just really enjoyed it. It was very satisfying. I really enjoyed taking something that was dirty and making it something presentable and clean and fresh. Not all new, but so that's what I just started off enjoying. But then into college, I got a bachelor's degree in psychology, went on to work on my master's degree in psychology and marriage and family therapy. Didn't quite finish that because I got married and life moved on. And then several years later, I joined the military. We did that for 14 years. Got a couple associate's degrees out of that, about 3 of them. And then most recently, I say recently, 3 years ago, I finished my master's divinity as I was studying to be a chaplain in the Air Force. So that brings us back to what we do now. And so on and off all these years since high school, I've worked with cars, auto detailing. And so I've got 20 plus years worth of experience of seeing the industry change, seeing things that came and went, that were fads or trends, and then seeing the things that have revolutionized how people wash their cars and or get their cars detailed, all the way up to wraps and films and coatings. I'm into coatings. I'm not much into wraps or film. So, but I do like the coatings. I do them. And so that's me in a nutshell in terms of how long I've enjoyed washing cars and detailing cars. I have a professional world that had nothing to do. You wouldn't know I was a car washer or a detailer. And then I have this professional detailing world that you would be like, well, how in the world did he get a master's degree from, theology while he's a car washer? That
right.
So I'm across the board on a few things.
That's so cool. I think we'll be talking a little bit more about what you do now and some of the challenges you face there. But just to talk about a little bit more about you personally, I think there's a lot of value in living a life that like you have lived, right? That there's a lot of value in having different interests and having different experiences. I mean, you've done a little bit of everything. You've done the corporate world. You've obviously been in the military, and you've gotten degrees in psychology and theology, right? Like you've done a little bit of everything, which is really, really, really cool. And, you know, I talk to people a little bit about that. I think more and more today we see individuals really hyper fixating on one thing. Like all they've ever wanted to be is a doctor, and that's all they're going to do. Their life is going to surround that. That's all it's going to be. And I think there's so much more to life. You could still be a doctor, but have other interests, go and learn and do other things. And you know, without, you know, we don't have to talk too much about it, but just like experiencing life in a much more broad sense, I think it just makes life that much better. And
Well,
makes it more
absolutely.
valuable.
When you consider having more fruit in your life through doing multiple things, you
Yeah.
know, a doctor, you know, I respect all the schoolwork they have to do to be there and do it and be in a practice. But the reality is they're usually honed in on their work,
Right.
their profession. They often have difficulties in the other areas of their life, whether it be physical, spiritual, financial. You know, if you look at the circle of life, and for any given human that is supposed to work or career is only one of those spokes.
Right.
And oftentimes, high level professionals, their wheel doesn't look right. Whereas mine is not quite right either because I've got work to do on it. But it is more faceted. I have a lot
Yep.
more experiences in different directions. I mean, one of the things I did in the Air Force was a heating and air technician trainer. And so to do mechanical and electrical training and have an aptitude and know how to do that stuff, to the point that I was a trainer uh, and lead others as a sergeant. Um, that doesn't normally go along with the same person that gets a degree to be a chaplain. Those usually are not found in the same person.
Right.
Uh, and so, yeah, so I'm a master of a few.
Hey, I'm right there with you. I think there's great value to that. You know, I often interact with people that this is the best way that I've found to describe it. I went to a very small school in Idaho. I'm from a small rural community. I graduated with about 120 kids in
That's
my
cool.
graduating class. And I talk to people all the time, and they're like, geez, didn't that, you know, I had more people in my grade than you did in your entire school, you know, and talk to individuals from larger cities and stuff like that. And they're like, isn't that challenging? You know, your school doesn't offer, you know, as many AP courses or whatever, right? And I actually kind of look at it differently because I went to a smaller school. I had the opportunity to learn and take a wide variety of classes and to have a wide variety of experiences. I played sports. I was in choir. I was in the few AP classes that we had. I did a lot. I had very, very varied. I was in student leadership. So I had like this varied experience where if I had gone to a bigger school, the only way I would have been able to do some of those things, like maybe play sports, I would have had to fully commit all of my time to play sports in order to, you know, a larger school, more competitive. So in order to be on a varsity team, I would have had to devote my entire time. There wouldn't have been time to go do choir and go be in student leadership and do some of these other things. And it allowed me to have a much more varied experience, which I think makes me more valuable. Yeah, I might not know as much about AP English as the next person, but I have the ability to interact and relate to more people because I have these varied experiences. I was able to, you know, go do choir, and so I can relate to somebody that's all they did, right? Or I played football, so I can talk to somebody that was their entire life was playing football, and I can relate to somebody on that level. And there is value to be had for the Swiss Army knives of the world. And I, you know, there's the common phrase, the jack of all trades, master of none. I I say that about myself a lot, but I think there's some value to that. And there's more we want to talk about, but I say
Well,
that
if you called it a second ago, I said I'm a master of a few.
Master of a few. There you go. See, master of a few. And I think that's a better way to phrase it than jack of all trades, master of none, right? Like you're a master of a few. I think there's exponential value in that, in being a Swiss Army knife. It's that's the best way I can think of it to relate it to people. So anyways, I don't want to talk too much about it, but I think there's, people I think get down on themselves a little bit that, I should have specialized, or I should have spent more time doing X, Y, or Z. I push back on that a little bit. So I think that's really cool.
Very good.
So let's dive a little bit further. So you had this wide variety of experiences. You've been in and out of like the auto detailing. That's something you've kind of always fallen back on, and not that you've had to, but it's something that you've always found passion for, found time to do. You find yourself now, Picarsso Auto Spa is in Las Vegas, Nevada. What prompted the move out to Las Vegas, and how did you eventually come to be a co-owner of Picarsso?
So we were ready to get out of Memphis, Tennessee, and we wanted to move to a location. We fought and prayed on it for 3 to 5 years, and then it was just the right time for us to move to Vegas. And that was into the end of this time of year. Actually, as a matter of fact, it was this week. It's December.
Wow, there you go.
It was this week in 2013 that I moved to Vegas.
Wow. Okay, cool. Very cool.
Yeah, so that's pretty neat. So anyways, we moved to Vegas, and before I'd moved to Vegas, I was checking YouTube to see who were detailers out here. I wanted to start making some friends. Before I got here, I wanted to do some networking. And anyways, long story short, I met this guy that had the account with the Win and Encore, and he said, I work with fleet vehicles, but if you come out here and you're as good as you might be as what you say you are, then I can send you referrals for some highline detailing. And that's what we did. And so I started working for Hilton at first, just to get my feet on the ground when I got to Vegas, and then started doing the mobile detailing again sometime after that. Soon did the mobile detailing, and then long story short, I had a Air Force tour that was coming up, so I knew I wasn't going to be able to maintain the business while the tour happened. And then after the tour, I came back and I worked as a fourth grade teacher at a Christian school. And then after that year, my friend Paul that owns this business, he said, why don't we talk about you buying us out of the business? And so, long story short, Lori and I agreed that that's what we would do, and that was this time of the year, 2018. So we've had the business since January of 19.
It's very, very cool. There's quite a bit of difference. We've talked a little bit about Picarsso and what you guys do. Talk to our listeners a little bit about the difference between what you were doing as far as, onesies and twosies is a bad way to describe it, but like the residential, individual car detailing, mobile detailing that you were doing versus what you guys are doing over at Picarsso.
So what I was accustomed to as a mobile detailer was washing 1 to 3 to 5, 6 cars a day at different locations, different people's houses, maybe detailing 1 car a day. Tough long day would be 2 details a day. Coating a car at somebody's garage, in someone's garage, at their house after I've detailed the car. That's just normal detailing, going to someone's house and address and gate code and all that jazz, and having to deal with the weather and get rained out or heat stroke, one reason or another.
Right.
or it's too windy. Believe it or not, in Vegas, sometimes it's so windy that I would cancel because I'd get halfway through the car and I was marring the car as much as I was cleaning the car because of
Right.
how much sand was blowing on the car. So, anyways, you just got to use good judgment if you've been in the business long enough to know when you're not helping the customer's car as much as you should be. So, as opposed to Picarsso, we have a unique situation where we clean the fleet, limousine fleet vehicles for a hotel here on the strip, the Wynn and Encore, and they have a fleet of about 35 vehicles, and we clean 25 or 30 of them every day,
Wow.
7 days a week, 365.
It's insane to me. It just seems crazy. I don't want to interrupt you, but gosh, it's crazy. It's so many vehicles to be doing on a day-to-day basis. It's wild. It's wild. And limos, right? Like you're not talking like a little sedan or a coupe. Like you're talking large vehicles.
We have about 10 stretch Lincoln Continentals, with 6 doors on it. So what you're thinking of as a limo, we have
Yeah.
those. And then we have about 12 or 14 Navigators that
Oh wow.
are
Yeah.
really, really nice. Let's just put it that way. And then we have 9 or 10 Rolls-Royce Phantoms
Oh my
that
gosh.
we clean every single day.
Jeez.
So,
Wild.
yep.
It's quite a difference, and maybe that could kind of be what I want to talk a little bit more about next. But we at Spot On Solutions, we work with a lot of like service-based companies. So a lot of the companies that we help with their digital marketing aren't like selling a product; they're selling a service. And that's what you guys are doing, right? Like it's customer service. That's what you're doing. You're trying to offer a service, and then you have to deal with customers' challenges and stuff that you face. Maybe talk a little bit about the difference between, as far as customer service goes, and the challenges that you face between the mobile detailing that you were doing, and now it's technically one customer, but it's a very, very large customer. So maybe what are some of the challenges with both, and what's better about one versus the other? Talk a little bit about that.
So with mobile, I was always wanting to make sure that I didn't leave. Uh, Car washing is very subjective. Here's the thing, where with
Yeah.
air conditioning, you're either getting the refrigerant to do what it's supposed to do, and the house is cooling correctly, or it's not.
Or it's not. Yeah.
It's very simple. In marketing, you're either getting the leads that you think that you're trying to get,
100%.
or you're not.
Yep.
Well, with car washing, everyone kind of has their own eye of what they think that the car should look like when you're done. And so I learned the first 10 years I had a certain way that I would clean the car, and I was always a little miffed if somebody didn't like the way I cleaned the car because I had a certain way to clean the car.
Right.
Well, I learned that um, with with a little bit of the mindset of the customer's right, then you find that um, I started giving them a scale of 1 to 10. Scale of 1 to 10, when they would come out and say they think the car looks great. And I would say, well, scale of 1 to 10, what does that mean to you? And if they were to tell me an 8, which is for some people fine, I would say that's wonderful, but I can't leave until it's a 9 or a 10 because I provide awesome, excellent customer service and I do excellent work. So what about this one might have been an 8 to you? Where are your expectations not being met? I'll fix it. I was very good
That's
at that, and
awesome.
that would
That's
roll,
awesome.
and then that would roll into referrals. So that would
Right.
that would be a way I could get referrals. Now that's mobile. That's with one person with their car. When you go to a fleet and you have 25 cars with chauffeurs as the customer, they're the ones driving the car. They're the ones inspecting the car. When they're not the customer though.
Right.
Their upper management is customer, and the guest that at the hotel that gets into the car is the customer. So
Right.
it's very difficult for me to have a good customer service protocol or plan in place with our situation that's unique, because I'm not. We have a certain standard, high standard, that we clean the cars, but I can't fix or change on any given whim of a driver that comes in one day and is not emotionally on par with what they're
Right.
supposed to be doing.
Right.
So if they come in to work and they're the driver of this car and they're bent about something, well, that's not a reflection on how I clean the car.
Right.
So it's a different challenge. It's easier to have 25 cars in one place to clean. However, and more or less it's all in the same place, but same property, same location property. But it is very difficult to deal with customer service because we do not have normal customer service.
Right.
We will not ever see our customer. I never
Yeah.
see a guest get into the cars we clean. So it's very unique.
Yeah.
I've learned to grow in patience. Let's put it that way.
Well, that's a great skill to have. I would imagine, and you know, again, I'm not in your industry, so I would love to hear your thoughts on this, but I would imagine, because you don't have that one-on-one interaction with your customers, it probably relies on you to develop like a system, right, that your employees can follow. So almost like a checklist or something, whatever requires, so that you know, okay, I'm sending this away as clean as I can possibly be. Now the customer, what their reaction is going to be, I'm not going to be able to know, but at least I know, okay, I've done A through Z, I've done, 1 through 10, whatever that system is, in order to know that we've cleaned it. And you're just kind of at that point, trying to just be patient and cross your fingers and hope that they feel the same way. Is that, I mean, am I on there? Is that kind of what you've had to do?
So we have different, I don't know if the camera's going to pick that up, but I'll fiddle.
Oh yeah, there you go.
Anyways,
there you go.
We have different performance standards that we have. How the glass, wood grain, chrome, all of that's supposed to look. How the paint's supposed to look. How the wheels and tires are supposed to look when we're done. So I train my crew to the certain level of standard, and as long as they can proficiently and reliably do those things that I taught them how to do, and my team trains them how to do, then we meet the standard that the win requests us to meet. So if the driver, and when I say win, I mean upper management, VP level.
Right.
So when the driver comes to work and he complains about a smudge on the window or the rims don't look right, it's kind of a nuisance because we do the same thing to every single car. So that can be a challenge. But we do have systems in place because of what we've been learning with this group that we're in the inner circle with for phenomenal products, phenomenal coaching. We've learned to get some systems in place that have genuinely, honestly changed our business this year.
I mean, I feel like, that paper that you were holding up with those systems on, I feel like if I were in your shoes, that's 100% what you'd have. I mean, that'd be your only option, right? Like you'd have to have some kind of checklist system, whatever it takes, in order to know, okay, hey, we've done our best here. If they disagree with that, fine, but we've done our best here in order to make this clean. Talk a little bit about, have there been some other things with regards to maybe employees and whether it's inner circle or maybe just something that you've done internally, but what have you done to really make sure you've got employees that are bought into this system or bought into what you guys are doing? Is it some training you have to do, or is it just hiring better quality employees? Like, what have you had to do language is bad there, but in order to make them buy into this system or have them buy into this system?
So we've had to change a few things for retention issues that we were having. People were not sticking around. They were, quite frankly, dropping like flies for a little while. But with the training that I've gotten from my coach through this inner circle group that I'm very grateful for, what he did was he helped me identify some things that were not going well, and then he helped prioritize those identified situations, and then allowed me the opportunity to work through those things in such a way that he basically said, successful companies do this, moderately successful companies do this, and companies that are struggling do it however they want. So which one do you want to be? More or less is sort of how he helped me to realize, I want to be in the successful company category, right?
Right.
Which business owner doesn't, right? I mean, that's the simple thing. But a lot of people, they don't implement the change that needs to take place. They don't do the actions that are being taught to them or available to them to know how to do to actually make the change. So I started implementing very strong because I needed to make a change. I realized I needed to make a change and I wanted a successful business. So when I started to do that, I realized I didn't have an employee handbook. I didn't have this PDR, this performance thing where I just thought I could tell someone how to do their job and they would go do it.
Right.
But that's because I got 20 years worth of experience and I know what to do. Some new hire, it doesn't click for them.
Yeah, totally.
So I had to create these things that we didn't have before when I bought the business. We didn't have employee handbook. We didn't have this. I have an organizational chart somewhere that tells everybody what their job description basically is, where they're in the workflow system, and that helped tremendously. And then so that's the things I've done. And so now moving forward, I'm going to implement. I'm doing some training with Dave Ramsey to become a master coach, so that I can teach my people how to make better use and stewardship of the money I'm paying them.
That's cool.
So
it's really cool.
It helps me as a business owner to know that I've got emotionally and financially stable employee team members. They'll stay at the job. They'll stay at work.
Right.
They'll stay with me because they see that I have a vested interest in making sure that not only are they getting paid X per hour and or commission, whatever that is, but I care enough about their family to teach them how to use proper biblical plus financial world training so that they can have a better family life with their finances that they're being paid. So I have the book right here. I have a box. And I got, so there's the guy.
Love it.
And so I got 10 or 15 of these books that I'm going to start teaching my guys and gals how to have a better life through working at Picarsso.
It's cool.
There are not too many at all mom and pop, if you will, small business car wash and detailing companies that have healthcare. I'm looking at a Christian ministry organization so that I might be able to start providing healthcare. That's unheard of.
Oh yeah.
In the car wash world, to be able to have genuine, real benefits,
right? As
opposed to I can get my car cleaned for free,
right?
That's not a real benefit. I mean, it's a perk.
Yeah.
It's a
doesn't put food on the table or take care of their family when they're sick. Yeah.
Nope, it doesn't do anything for them at urgent care. You can't go detail the nurse and the doctor's car outside.
Right. No, that's awesome.
Anyways,
and that allows you to, at the end of the day, like hire more qualified individuals, right? If you can offer benefits, um, and have a better like structure at your business or whatever it might be, like you're going to be able to hire better employees and at the end of the day have a successful company, right? Like you want to be a successful company, and these are some things you've got to do. And it just it totally makes sense. And I think a lot of business owners miss it, where growth, is always something that people talk about. Oh, we want to grow our business, or we want to be better and more efficient, have better margins, whatever it might be. And it's this cart before the horse, or it's the chicken and the egg conversation. They're like, well, do I focus on increasing revenue and then hire better employees, or do I hire better employees and train my employees better, and that will then equal more revenue? And it's this constant battle, like, what do I do? What do I do? I don't own a business, so I don't want to speak out of turn here, but the people that I've talked to, like yourself, the people that I've been able to have interactions with through this podcast, have always talked about, if you hire employees and hire people to help you, and they're better, and you train them better and help them, reach their goals and be more financially efficient, or whatever it might be, your business is just naturally going to grow. It's going to get better. You're going to have more time to go out and get more jobs, more contracts, whatever it might be, because you can trust your employees that they're going to be able to handle the work that you bring in.
Absolutely. And so that's what I learned from this inner circle group. And my coach said, how much are you paying your guys? And I'm like, I'm paying them X, which is about right for car wash world, car wash world, not car detailing, but car wash world, because that's mostly what we do at the Win. He said, you need to raise your rate. You're not getting good enough team members, because there's a price point that you're below a certain threshold. You need to go above the threshold. And I gave him some kickback, and I said, we have a certain amount of cars we wash a day. The margins are tight, if you will.
Right.
And he said, well, do you want to keep living crazy, or do you want to adjust your own personal pay so that you can get the right people here, so that you can go back to your normally scheduled life? He really got my attention.
Yeah.
And so I said, all right. So seriously, Hayden, we have given up, the owners have given up bonuses basically since September.
Wow. That's impressive.
And in the meantime, we're joining organizations that will help. IDA is International Detailing Association. I've also paired up with International Car Wash Association. So I'm trying to get my team to where they're not just another car washer or a detailer on the road, but they are professionals that know what they're doing. And I'm teaching them skills of the trade and helping them have a better life, not just a good job.
Totally.
Because there's lots of good jobs out there that Mark Cooper cannot create or make happen. But if I can create a better lifestyle for their family as a whole, give them health care, teach them how to use the money I'm already paying them, pay them better wages, create incentives for them to make bonuses that did not used to create or did not used to exist, and empower them with worldwide training that they are a professional, whether they're in America, Europe, Africa, doesn't matter where they go. They're the same skilled professional.
So cool. And I think at the end of the day, it just sets you up for more success in the future. It really does. That kind of leads me into kind of what I wanted to talk a little bit about next. But what do you see is the future for you guys at Picarsso? Are you hoping to land some other large contracts at some other hotels? Are you hoping to maybe expand into more of the auto detailing, as far as mobile detailing side of things? Like, what are you hoping? You're laying all this foundation with your employees and your training and your systems. What are you hoping for, in 2023 and beyond?
2023, there is another fleet in town that I would like to take possession of, if you will, or start owning the responsibility of doing the auto appearance for these vehicles. In Las Vegas, we have a massive convention center system. If you don't
Right.
know, Las Vegas is huge for convention centers. Well, they happen to have what they call the Vegas Loop, and it's a tunnel underground with all Tesla cars.
Oh, wow.
And currently they have a fleet of about 80 to 100 cars.
Wow.
The Win only has 35.
Yeah, that's quite the jump.
Yeah, quite the jump. So I don't know what God has in mind there yet. I don't know if something will materialize out of it. I do know that I've talked with some people at headquarters. They actually aren't pleased necessarily with who's cleaning their cars right now. So I'm not sure what's going to happen. It could happen in 23 or in years to come. But I think that would be another non-hotel fleet that I would like to start managing. But in addition to, so that takes care of fleet. But then I'd also like to go back into what I'm really good at, which is mobile detailing, and teach my crew how to do it so that we start with the trailer we already have that I pull with my truck. But by this time next year, I've got 2 guys that I'd like for them to be in their own company vehicles, going out and doing mobile on their own.
Gotcha.
I would really like that.
That's awesome. That's awesome goals. And I think with the groundwork that you're laying, I think it's totally possible. Again, to kind of reflect back a little bit on just what I've learned here on this podcast, there is almost always consistent, immediate growth when business owners, again, this is what they've told me, but when business owners start finding ways to delegate and train their employees better and build these systems, and find ways to take more off their own plate. Because as they do that, you're immediately setting yourself up for growth, because it allows you to then focus on the bigger picture things, like trying to have those conversations with other fleets, with other, hotels or whatever it might be, right? It allows you to then have those other conversations, as well as start building, opportunities and systems for the mobile detailing side of things. Like, it just really allows you, as you start to delegate and build these systems and train and do all of these things, you're really setting yourselves up for some awesome growth. And I don't know, it's going to be cool to be to fly on the wall, right, for the next for 2023 and see what happens for you guys. And I really know that as you work on some of these things and continue to build, like, there's the sky's the limit, right, for you guys. And it's going to be really cool to watch. So I think you're doing all the right things, and I'm excited to be able to watch that happen. It's going to be really cool. So
Thanks, Hayden. I really appreciate you saying that. We are excited. Lori and I are excited about what 23 holds, and we've got some exciting things that could happen that could catapult us into 24 and 25.
oh, it's awesome. Well, before we wrap up, you've talked about some really cool things about your business and your industry, as well as things that you're doing that I know our listeners are going to find some good value in. I want you to share. You work for, or you own an auto detailing company in Las Vegas. Share with our listeners, what's a cool story that's happened to you recently? I mean, you get to clean Rolls-Royce Phantoms, which I think is cool. Maybe the cleaning of them is not cool, but that seems pretty cool. Those are awesome cars. But is there a cool or awesome story that's happened to you or your business recently that you're like, man, you were able to maybe step back from a little bit and be like, wow, that was really awesome that we got to be a part of that? Has there been some kind of cool story that you can share with our listeners?
So there was a concourse d'elegance at the Wynn here in town about a month ago. It's in other words, it's a really high-end car show on a golf course.
Okay,
Really
very cool.
fancy, really high-end. We did the cars for Rolls-Royce corporate and McLaren corporate.
Oh my gosh.
So we got to work on some cool cars there, and doing well enough with McLaren that week gave us the opportunity to do what we did just last week or 2 weeks ago, where we got to clean the cars at Las Vegas Dream Racing, which is a bracelet I wear.
That's sweet.
Because I love racing cars.
Yeah.
And so we got to do, we averaged 9 McLarens a day for 5 days, washing those cars out at the racetrack.
That's so sweet. McLaren's, for those listeners that are a little illiterate, maybe when it comes to cars, McLaren's are one of the top like supercar brands in the world. And they're Google it. I don't know how else to describe it other than just go Google McLaren. But what they've built and what they've done with cars and with racing technology and everything is just incredible. And you guys got to be a part of that, which is so cool to me. I mean, that's so sweet. I know I don't know if it's 2023 or 2024, but there is going to be an F1 race in Vegas. Are you guys hoping to somehow be a part of that, maybe in some shape or form?
So we're hoping that the work that we've been doing with McLaren will keep us engaged enough throughout the different times they'll keep coming back for doing PR stuff, that we can stay in the back of their mind, so that when it gets closer to October of next year, November of next year, when the race is going to happen, that Picarsso Auto Spa, if I could dream a little bit, Picarsso Auto Spa is their go-to detailer when they come in town.
Be so awesome, because I mean, it's not just the F1 cars that are a part of that. I mean, there's all sorts of other vehicles and advertising. There's so much that could be a part of that. Gosh, it'd be cool. It'd be really, really cool. I'm excited to, tune in on TV during next fall and maybe see a little billboard or something as the cars drive by for Picarsso Auto Spa. That'd be pretty sweet. So
it'd be neat.
It'd be really cool. Well, Mark, thank you again for coming on the show. Real quick, I want to wrap up with the 3 questions we ask all of our podcast guests that come on. First question, is there a book or podcast that you're reading or listening to right now that you just really, really love?
I would say it would be a combination between the master coach training I'm getting with Dave Ramsey.
Love it.
Because that's quite a bit more than just a podcast.
Right.
But the other one would be a combination of, again, the material that I'm learning from in this inner circle group. Profits First. I don't know if that's going to
love that.
Right? Yep. Profits First. And then there's another book, because this goes to any business. This one is the spinoff, and this is Profits First for the contractor. It's not showing up on the screen, but basically for a service business.
That's awesome.
And so I'm working just as hard trying to get new business for mobile as I am trying to get a situation for my team members where they love working at Picarsso because of what Picarsso offers, not just them as a person, but their whole family.
Right.
And then the third thing is I'm trying to create a system, a financial system where I can teach other mobile detailers how to make better money.
Yeah, so cool. I love that.
I don't have a problem with competition in terms of I'm going to hold the secrets.
Right.
There's enough cars out there. We can all go out and wash as many cars as we can. There's no reason to have negative competition. I'd be happy to teach other detailers how to make better money.
It's what's the phrase? Rising tide raises all ships, right? Like if you can find a way, something that works for you, and you can help a buddy down the street, help it work better for him, it's going to be beneficial for everybody. So love that. Okay. Second question. I know you have long days, cleaning a lot of cars, managing a lot of employees, and trying to get, set yourself up to grow in the future. How do you relax at the end of a long day, Mark? What do you do to recharge the batteries?
So if I could show you, I can. I'm in my garage. My garage is my office, and if I stop the blurring, behind me is my camping gear.
Love it.
All of
Love it.
this jazz. Oh, I don't even know if you can see my cursor, but anyways, this stuff is
Yeah,
all
yeah.
organized camping gear, and I have other stuff over here. I mean, so to answer your question, answering your question, I love to do camping, hiking, and barbecuing. Uh,
Love
my
it.
my backyard has some really cool equipment to make some tasty treats.
Love that. Those are all great things. Some of my favorite things as well. Spend a lot of time, especially in the summers up here in Idaho, doing those things, camping, cooking, barbecuing and stuff, fishing, anything outside, I'm all in. So yeah, I love that. Last question, Mark. I don't want to keep you too much longer, but last question. If you could rewind to the beginning of your career, whether it's your career with auto detailing, owning your business at Picarsso, or maybe the beginning of your military career, whatever it would be, if you could rewind and tell younger Mark one thing, what would that one thing be?
You can have a product that's incredible. You can have a service that everyone needs. But if nobody knows that you're out there, you're not going to sell the product or the service to anyone. So I wish I had told myself marketing is quite frankly more important than sales. Sales are what gives you the opportunity to eat, but you cannot sell what people don't know is out there. So marketing is key.
Love that. Love that, Mark. That's if we could put that on a billboard and that was an ad for any marketing agency, I would prefer it was Spot On Solutions, but any kind of marketing business out there, that's it, man. Like you can have an awesome, I tell my clients all the time, it's easy for me to market for awesome companies, and there's thousands of awesome companies out there, but if people don't know you're there and don't know you exist,
It's a fact.
It's not, you're not going to be able to grow or sell or pay the bills at the end of the day. So
yeah, it's really not a sales pitch for you as a marketing company, but it may seem like a sales pitch because the person's on the other end hearing you say that. But
yeah,
when reality is, it's just the truth.
yep.
You can have the best water in the world in the middle of the desert, but if that tribe in the middle of the desert don't know you exist, they're not getting your water.
No, it's not going to happen.
It's just that simple.
Oh, Mark, love that.
That's it.
Mark, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. This was an awesome interview. Thanks for dealing with the audio issues that we've had and helping us get it fixed. And thanks for all your help. Really, really appreciate it. I know there's going to be a lot of good value out of this episode, and I know our listeners are going to really love it. So thanks again for coming on, and we hope to have you on again in the future.
Well, I sure have appreciate being able to be on the call with you. I would very thankfully accept your opportunity to be able to speak again with you guys. We can talk more about what I do, or we can talk about other things that I have experience with, and we can talk offline about what videos you might want to create for that.
Love it, Mark. Thanks again. We'll chat at you later.
Merry Christmas, brother.
Merry Christmas, Mark.
This has been Success Elevated, making you a little bit better one show at a time. Thanks for joining us. Please subscribe on YouTube or any other major podcast platform to listen to more episodes. We are proudly brought to you by Spot On Solutions. If you'd like to learn more about how we can help you grow your business, please check us out at spotonsolutions.com.